Hello and welcome to NN24's news on the hour from Lagos in Nigeria. I am Zainab Sadiq. A look now at some of the major stories making headlines. Angola and South Africa have once more reiterated commitments to strengthening their diplomatic ties. President of Angola, José Eduardo dos Santos, and his South African counterpart, Jacob Zuma, met in Robben Island to find lasting solutions to decades of long enmity between the two countries. The president of Angola is visiting South Africa for the first time since he assumed power 3 years ago. The meeting came up at Robben Island, where former South African President Nelson Mandela spent most of his 18-year sentence. Analysts say South Africa is looking for new sources of oil to help the country drive its economy. Angola is Africa's second biggest oil producer, and now both countries have, however, signed energy deals. The Somalian government is intensifying efforts to strengthen its military as it has graduated about 1,000 soldiers who were recently trained in Uganda. The soldiers are the first set of trainees expected to boost the country's fragile military capacity. There are hopes that the soldiers may help contain militant group Al-Shabaab and other insurgents. Out of the 907 soldiers, 21 were trained officers and 170 are non-commissioned officers. 7 of the trainees are women. The European Union has, however, committed about 215 million euros for development assistance to Somalia for the period between 2008 and 2013. This, analysts say, is a significant portion that would help boost the African country's military capacity. In Côte d'Ivoire, at least 3 people have been shot dead as security forces fired tear gas and stun grenades at stone-throwing supporters of the incumbent President Laurent Gbagbo and opposition leader Alassane Ouattara. In the country's capital city, Abidjan, businesses have been closed and fearful residents have remained indoors. According to local media sources, Ouattara, whose election victory has been acknowledged by the United Nations and African Union, has called on his supporters to help him take control of state institutions. Across Abidjan, soldiers and police are standing guard at nearly every major road intersection. On Wednesday, the UN Secretary-General warned that the politically charged environment could spark a new civil war. The Middle East talks between Palestine and Israel hit a deadlock and negotiations ended in a stalemate. The Arab states want the United States of America to offer a serious proposal to advance the peace process of the Middle East. The peace talks between Israel and Palestine hit the rocks when the Palestinians pulled out following Israel's refusal to extend a 10-month freeze on settlement building in the West Bank and the east of Jerusalem. U.S. had also admitted it failed to bring about an Israeli settlement freeze, indicating direct talks had ended and proximity talks have begun. A court in Bauchi State, that's Nigeria's northern region, has jailed a pastor for illegal possession of firearms. The 46-year-old pastor, John Nadru, was sentenced for 3 years and 8 months after security agents found an AK-47 rifle and 5 pistols in his house in Dot Village during a raid last month. According to Muhammad Ibrahim of the Bauchi Magistrate Court, the suspect was convicted on 2 counts of illegal possession of firearms as well as criminal conspiracy. However, he claims he kept the weapons for self-defense following a series of sectarian attacks in the area. One of Nigeria's leading nationalists has died. Anthony Enahoro passed away in the early hours of Wednesday at his home in Edo State. He was 87 years old. Enahoro was at the forefront of Nigeria's politics for several decades. He is accredited with leading the motion for Nigeria's independence from Britain in the Federal House of Representatives in 1957. In 1967, 10 years later, he served as Federal Commissioner for Information and Labor under Nigeria's former military leader, General Yakubu Gowon. And also, he was Federal Commissioner for Special Duties in 1975. During the 1990s, Enahoro was the chairman of the National Democratic Coalition, NADECO, a political group that demanded the resignation of late military ruler General Sani Abacha in favor of the 1993 presidential candidate MKO Abiola. He received the Commander of the Order of the Federal Republic honor in 1982. Last month, Enahoro was admitted to the University of Benin Teaching Hospital for acute diabetes. He is survived by his wife and 5 children. Some members of the Nigerian society have identified widowhood as a great concern. This was the main focus of a forum organized for widows and their children. NN24's Perpetual Nwakogo brings us the story.
As part of the measures to encourage widows and their children, a get-together was organized by the Center for Values in Leadership, a non-governmental organization. Organizers and representatives of various organizations concerned with the welfare of widows and their children say these women need attention.
I want people to see widows as their fellow human beings, as their friends, as those who deserve a good relationship from them.
Some first ladies in their various states are trying their best, but their best is not good enough. The federal government should come up with a law for the widows because a lot of widows and orphans are suffering.
A lot of advice I have for the widows, for instance, their children, they should, they don't have much to spend, but with the NGOs spending left and right center, they should make sure they are hooked to one of them so that they can be properly trained.
Some of the women say widowhood is not without its challenges.
As a widow, it's when you have nowhere to live, you be with landlord or landlady. After some time, they will ask you to go away, that they don't want any widow in their house.
Coming to the society we are in is the same thing. Coming to the family where you are married to is another thing. They humiliate you, whatever that belongs to you, they take it away from you without looking back. In this very society we are in, it's as if you are a plague.
I started hanging my head down at a time, as if anytime I go out, people are watching me.
Gifts in cash and kind were presented as a form of support to the widows and their children.
God bless you all.
These women are like every other woman in the Nigerian society who needs your love, care and encouragement to be able to move on. Perpetual Nwakogo, NN24, Lagos.
Don't go away. When NN24 News on the Hour returns, there'll be more stories.
Club is too small for us.
No news is too big.
Your business is our business.
You know what? Just look around your community and tell us what is happening. We'll help you tell it better to the world.
Talk to us.
And we'll take it to the world.
You can follow NN24 on Facebook and Twitter.
It's time to look at stories making headlines from other parts of the world. Foreign Affairs Minister in Germany, Guido Westerwelle, says his country will start pulling out the first of its close to 5,000 troops from Afghanistan in the first half of next year. Westerwelle said this during a government declaration in the Bundestag, that is the German parliament. Deputy leader of the opposition, Raimund Erler, heavily criticized the government of Afghan President Hamid Karzai. Following the release of a report that makes criminal allegations against the Prime Minister of Kosovo, the Council of Europe's rapporteur on human rights, Dick Marty, has made his first public appearance. Marty appeared at a parliamentary committee meeting of the Council of Europe in Paris, where he was expected to give details about the report. The report will be studied by Kosovo's EU Justice Commission. Meanwhile, Chachi's government has denounced as baseless the investigative reports and assertions that he headed and organized a crime ring that assassinated opponents, trafficked in organs and drugs, and committed other crimes during the Kosovo-Albanian guerrilla war against Serbia in the late 1990s. The report also cited intelligence findings over more than a decade that Tachi and associates controlled heroin and other drug dealing and had been consistently named as leaders of mafia-like structures in Kosovo. Hundreds and thousands of Shiite Muslims gathered in the holy Shiite city of Kerbala to observe the annual ritual of mourning of Ashura, an event that has become a show of strength for Iraq's Shiite sect. Pilgrims clad in black crowded the streets near the holy shrine of Imam Hussein. More than 30,000 soldiers and policemen were deployed in and around the city to provide protection to Shiite pilgrims who had been targets for insurgent attacks in the past. Sunni militants have frequently attacked pilgrims, beginning with suicide bombings in Baghdad and Kerbala during the first post-Saddam Ashura in 2004 that killed more than 160 people and heralded the sectarian bloodshed that worsened in 2006 and 2007. Dozens of people were wounded in a series of attacks targeting Shiites in different areas in Baghdad over the past 3 days. Ashura is the most important day in the Shiite calendar. The holiday commemorates the slaying of Prophet Muhammad's grandson, Imam Hussein, in the 7th century Battle of Kerbala. And these are all the stories for now from News Around the World. The news continues.
Now, there are many news channels, but only one network News 24, Africa's news channel. Our visionaries tell African stories. Now, you can see it on DSTV on channel 414. Finally, news reported, written, and anchored by Africans. CNN created the concept. Now, we bring it to Africa so that you can get the African perspective.
Hello and welcome to Entertainment News on NN24's News on the Hour. Many tourists from across the world visited a small community in Ondo State to enjoy a yearly festival called Mari. NN24's Femi Akonde tells us about this community and its tourism potentials.
Tourism could be an economic blessing for Nigeria if well packaged to attract visitors from across the world. One tourist destination in Nigeria that may have caught the attention of sightseers all over the world is a peculiar mountainous community called Idonre in Ondo State. A festival called Mari is organized yearly to bring visitors to this town.
As you all know, tourism has become one of the fastest growing economic sectors in both the developed and developing nations of the world. Today, no country can afford to neglect tourism. Ondo State is fortunate to be naturally blessed in terms of tourism endowment, of which Idari Hills is one. Mari Festival was therefore conceived as an annual cultural event to promote tourism.
The 2010 Mari Festival had activities like marathon, arts and cultural exhibition, rock climbing, and entertainment.
What we are celebrating is a celebration of our culture. We are promoting our arts, we are promoting our young talents, and we are entertaining people.
But the most exciting moment was a musical performance from both local and international artists. Idonre, a small town with a population of less than 200,000, came alive for the 2010 Mari Festival. The state government believes Mari is a treasure trove waiting for exploration. Femi Akonde, NN24, Akure.
Two-time African Footballer of the Year Kanu Nwankwo will soon be in cinemas as the Lighthouse production with other international film directors and production houses begin a film project on the story and life of Kanu, the footballer. The production crew says the story will cut across all the places the player has worked as a successful footballer. NN24's Taiwo Adeleke tells us the story.
A film that chronicles the life biography of Kanu Nwankwo called The Lion Heart will soon hit the cinemas. Nell Oyekon, the producer of the film, says the film will be shown in more than 5 countries.
It doesn't matter, where he's from. A great story is a great story. And it's on the strength of that we believe this project will transcend, to, very, very interesting heights. Kanu's story, sells itself off the back of the fact that it's inspirational, it's quite motivating, and I think our belief really is more towards that than Kanu himself. I mean, he could have been a baseball player or, a basketballer or an accountant. If you have that kind of story, it's powerful enough, to attract quite an audience if properly told.
Moving to meet and talk to a lot of the kids in the street who have this desire to be great football stars, and there's a lot of passion and concentration on that goal. So although they're kids, they've got a focus on the future, and that's been really amazing actually to see.
Kanu was known for his football achievements all over the world, and 2-time African Footballer of the Year is ready to tell his story as a young boy growing up in Warri and believing in his dreams. Caroline Dates, the director of the film, believes the life of Kanu will make an impact in the life of people to keep hope alive.
Yeah, but I hope the film, my only hope is that the film is successful in terms of it manages to tell a story that people find engaging and uplifting, and people maybe create a little bit of change, that create a bit of change in people's lives and the opportunities available to people.
It shows a story, a great story of a person, going through, making their dreams come true, nearly losing it all. That's the kind of arcs for a story that you look for, even in fiction, and have it in real life. It's a great opportunity.
The production crew, who have begun work on the shooting of the film, says the project will last for about 6 months before it goes to the theatre next year. Taiwo Adeleke, NN24, Lagos.
In South Korea, visitors to the zoo will be greeted by giant rabbits dressed in traditional South Korean costume. This is part of events to mark the Chinese New Year of the rabbit. Many visitors, especially children, were excited at the concept, especially as rabbits are considered symbols of good fortune and riches. One boy even said the ones at the zoo are bigger than those he keeps as pets at home and are therefore more exciting. According to the Chinese lunar calendar, the New Year of the Rabbit begins on the 3rd of February 2011. And that brings us to the end of entertainment news. A quick look at some business stories now. The United States has welcomed China's pledge to reopen its markets to American beef and buy more legal U.S. software. Top officials from both countries met in Washington, trying to reduce bilateral trade differences ahead of a presidential summit next month. U.S. Trade Representative Ron Kirk speaks on the agreements.
We made important progress relative to the protection of America's intellectual property, indigenous innovation policies in China, as well as government procurement and agriculture. This is critical to America's companies, our workers, our farmers, our ranchers, our service providers, and all those who seek to access this incredibly growing and dynamic economy in China.
China's market has been closed to U.S. beef since 2003, when the first case of mad cow disease was found in that country. Some financial experts say reopening the Chinese market could bring about as much as $200 million to the beef industry in the United States. Meanwhile, Chinese authorities have promised to fight copyright piracy by promoting greater use of legal software, pledging to submit a new offer to join the World Trade Organization's government's procurement pact. Still in the United States, President Barack Obama's administration has sued British Petroleum plc and 4 other companies over the Gulf of Mexico oil spill, charging violation of U.S. environmental laws. The lawsuit seeks damages in compensation from BP, Transocean Limited, Anadarko Petroleum, Mitsui & Co. Limited, and Transocean's insurer, Lloyd's of London, for their roles in the worst offshore oil spill disaster in American history. The U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder speaks on the lawsuit.
The United States alleges violations of federal safety and operational regulations, including a failure to take the necessary precautions to secure the Macondo well prior to the April 20th explosion, failure to utilize the safest drilling technology to monitor the well's condition, failure to maintain continuous surveillance of the well, and failure to utilize and to maintain equipment and materials that were available and necessary to ensure the safety and protection of personnel, property, natural resources, as well as the environment. Now, we intend to prove that these violations caused or contributed to the massive oil spill and that the defendants are therefore responsible under the Oil Pollution Act for government removal costs, economic losses, as well as environmental damages. We're also seeking civil penalties under the Clean Water Act, which prohibits the unauthorized discharge of oil into the nation's waters. Now, we allege that the defendants named in this lawsuit were in violation of the act through the months that the oil was gushing into the Gulf of Mexico, and we intend to hold them fully accountable for their violations of the law.
However, the suit did not name Halliburton or Cameron International, which provided equipment for the well, but the Justice Department says investigations will continue as more defendants and charges could be added later. 20 years ago, McDonald's opened its first branch in China when the country was just 1 decade into reform policies and American-style fast food was almost unheard of. Now, with about 1,000 Chinese outlets, McDonald's is almost a norm for the urbanite consumer of the world's fastest-growing economy. And to mark its anniversary, McDonald's has revamped 4 major Beijing outlets with new interiors and added McCafe coffee shops to appeal to a young and increasingly discerning crowd. McDonald's chief executive in China, Kenneth Chan, speaks on the new design motto, "Less is more."
We're here for the long term, and when we opened our restaurants in 1990 in Shenzhen, we were looking for a long-term commitment here. So the ultimate goal is to try to, expand the market in the marketplace as our urbanized consumers move from the rural cities into the urban centers. So we're trying to make sure that we have a clear strategy in terms of opening at the right locations, at the same time creating a brand differentiation with the rest of our competitors as we do so.
McDonald's plans to double the number of its Chinese outlets to 2,000 by the year 2013. And that will be all for now on News on the Hour. Thank you for watching. From Lagos in Nigeria's commercial city, I am Zainab Sadiq.
Abeg, give me another packet of this shaving stick and that cream waited there.
Until you, I don't give you a change, Abby.
Hey, yes. Or give me chocolates and chewing gum.
Sister, give me mineral.
Just any cool mineral.
Bring mineral.
Please, miss.
Yes?
Can I get a pack of condoms there?
Condom, okay. Thank you.
Abeg, no vex. Pass the mineral, abeg. Just give me condom.
Hey, please, I don't like this drug. Give me condom.
Auntie, even me too. I go need them.
Now why? Thank God for Uncle Thomas, eh? Okay, make una tell me now. How many years you na go need?
No dey shame to protect yourself. Make you dey use condom.